What's up, guys? Welcome to the channel where we discuss everything football. Now, the European competition, the Europa Champions League, has come to an end, and we got to discuss everything that happened over the 2 days. If you're new to the channel, remember to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and share. Leave your comment or thoughts to go a long way to help this channel to grow. It's your boy Curtis. Let's get into it. Borussia Dortmund secured a win against Barcelona in the second fixture of the UEFA Champions League, having scored 3-1 at their home. But then Barcelona qualified to the semi-final on 5-3 aggregate in this fixture. We saw new faces in the lineup from Hansi Flick team, whereby Gerard Martin came in for Alejandro Balde, the injured Alejandro Balde. And Gerard Martin did decent. I mean, most people doubted if he could do the job or he could even stand up for the occasion. But the guy or the young lad did well, given the opportunity that he had. We also saw Fermin Lopez to the number 9 position in this game, and also we had Gavi and Frankie de Jong for the center midfield pairing, whereby Pedri was given a rest. The fact that Pedri has played almost every game this season, we needed that rest in this game. But Barcelona was awful. We can talk about the disastrous performance by this team because they've been one of the high-performing team in the Champions League. They've been one of the entertaining teams we've watched over this campaign. But I think that it was their game plan because even the post-match conference, Hansi Flick came out to say that he didn't want to put too much pressure on his team and he didn't want to disrespect Borussia Dortmund. And I think that was a game plan to go into the second leg here, seeing they've already secured 4 goals in the first leg. So the boys were more relaxed. They didn't really press as they used to. Even they were missing some key passes. And in fact, most fans were kind of disheartening. People were even having PTSD of previous campaign whereby they feared that Borussia Dortmund will come back to really hurt them by qualifying at their home. Yeah, and then we can also talk about Gurase, who had a hat-trick on this night. He became the first African to score 13 goals in the UEFA Champions League. That's a new record for this guy. And also, they ended Barcelona unbeaten run in 2025. Yes, we saw Daniel Mo featured in this game coming back from injury. He had a couple of minutes to play in this fixture, but all in all, I think it was an okay performance by Barcelona. It wasn't to their standard, but they were really qualified, I'm sure, psychologically. The boys didn't really want to do much or put much pressure on themselves, seeing that they have a couple of matches to play, the upcoming Copa del Rey match and also the Clásico in the league fixture, and some difficult games to come this season as well. We witnessed another night of entertaining football between Paris Saint-Germain and also Aston Villa at the Villa Park. Now, the first leg, we had 4 goals whereby PSG scored Aston Villa 3-1 at home. And in the second leg, Aston Villa scored PSG 3-2 at home, but it wasn't enough to qualify them to the semi-final, seeing that PSG qualified on aggregate of 5-4 into the next phase of the Champions League. It was a good performance by both teams. Both keepers were great. In fact, Donnarumma made a couple of saves on this night. If not for that, I think Aston Villa would have been a topic to talk about. Now, we can talk about standard performance of some players. Marcus Rashford, who was an outcast at Man United, really stood up in this game. He created a lot of chances. He created a couple of assists in this game, and his gameplay was very good. And I think Man United fans might be regretting or might be questioning Ruben Amorim's decision-making when it comes to some players like Marcus Rashford. Now, this also brings or continues Aston Villa's home run to 18 games unbeaten since 1991 at the Villa Park, and I think it's becoming a fortress for them. And this team has really gone through a lot of transformation under Unai Emery, and I think coming next season in the Champions League, if only they qualify to the Champions League, seeing the league table how it's shaping up, I think they might be a force or a team to beat. They have some entertaining players to watch and also have some good talent in their team that they can really cause trouble to opposing teams. Raymond Thunder has been the most used words in a couple of days. Yes, the match between Real Madrid and Arsenal. Coming into this fixture, we had a lot of news, a lot of talks by players, both camps, and then I think Real Madrid tried to use the intimidating strategy to really intimidate Arsenal fans and also their players coming into this fixture. Now, we heard that Real Madrid even seeked permission from UEFA to close the roof of the Santiago Bernabeu to really keep that atmosphere, that tense atmosphere, so that the players might be shaken or maybe they can't play to their game. But I think this strategy didn't really work out for Real Madrid here. Now, the first half of this game was really awful. I mean, it was disappointing from both teams, especially Real Madrid, because seeing that they've lost 3-0 at the Emirates, I was expecting Real Madrid to really come into this game with a really good game plan, but it was crosses flying here and there against a side which is what defended against set pieces. I expected Ancelotti to do better in this fixture, but unfortunately, it didn't turn out the way we wanted to see Real Madrid really competing, also fighting for their lives to qualify for the semi-final. At the end, Arsenal qualified to the semi-final. In this game, Arsenal won 2-1 at the Bernabeu, which means they scored Madrid both home and away on a 5-1 aggregate in this fixture. Now, we can talk about Bukayo Saka's penalty, whereby he missed a penalty, but he went on to score a goal, and also Martinelli scored a goal. Vinicius Junior had one for Real Madrid, but at the end, it wasn't enough to qualify them to the next round. So now, you can also talk about some kind of awful or fouling incident in this game by Real Madrid players against their opponent, which was really uncalled for. But I think all in all, the officiating in this game was quite okay. The referee really allowed the game to flow, and we enjoyed somehow the second half of this game, but not all the game in total. Yeah, Mbappe picked up an injury, so he was sent off in this game. It might be a blow to the Real Madrid fans or the Real Madrid team, seeing that they have a Clasico to play against Barcelona. Hopefully, he gets well before this game, and also he can also feature in this game. Another fixture we will talk about is the Inter Milan and also the Bayern Munich game. We know that if you're playing an Italian side as Inter Milan, it's always going to be a tight or a close game. Now, in the first fixture, whereby Inter Milan scored Bayern Munich at the Allianz Arena 2-1, they had an advantage coming into the second leg at home in their own backyard, but this game ended 2-2. In this game, it was a tight game in the first half. There was no goals in the first half, but in the second half, we witnessed a couple of goals here, 4 goals in the second half, whereby Lautaro Martinez found himself on the score sheet, and also Pavard scored in this game. And Harry Kane wasn't left out in this game. He scored a goal, and also Gnabry assisted Dyer in this game. But it wasn't enough for Bayern Munich to qualify, thereby Inter qualifying on a 4-3 aggregate to the semi-final of this competition. Is going to be an interesting competition or fixtures to really watch, because we have Arsenal playing Paris Saint-Germain and also Barcelona playing Inter Milan in this bracket. Well, a couple of people have talked about Barcelona's high line, and they've always said that it's a weakness, given that they've conceded a lot of goals this season. And Inter Milan do have a really good back line, a well-organized team, both in defense, midfield, and attack, and that to cause problems to Barcelona. But I think if my statistics serves me correctly, Inter Milan have conceded more goals in Serie A than Barcelona has or have in the La Liga. But I really can't wait to see this fixture. I think Barcelona's lineup happens to be maybe one of their lethal weapons against opponents. They're not really a weakness, as people have talked about all season long, because they continue to thrive even against the big sides. But they still say that it's still a test for Barcelona to play Inter Milan, even though they've played Bayern Munich, they've played Real Madrid, they've played Borussia Dortmund, and the likes. But I think, Barcelona's high line might be a lethal weapon for them, not really a weakness. But yeah, we have more to see coming in the coming fixtures against Inter Milan over 2 legs. Is going to be an interesting one to see. Now, Paris Saint-Germain and also Arsenal play in this fixture in a semi-final as well, whereby Arsenal plays the first leg at home at Emirates Stadium, and then the second leg they go to Paris Saint-Germain's home to play. But I think, given the attacking talent that Paris Saint-Germain have, is going to be an interesting game against a side who defend really well in the league, in EPL, and also in the Champions League as well. Because Arsenal's back line, they are really fantastic when it comes to defending, and we will see how these two fixtures really play out. Newcastle continue to fight for their top 4 position on the Premier League table, also with their eyes set on the Champions League next season. Today, they played their outstanding match against Crystal Palace, where they trashed them 5-0. 5-0 in this fixture. 5-0 unanswered. In fact, players like Murphy put on a jaw-dropping performance in this game, where he scored an outstanding goal in this game. And I think Murphy and Barnes, coming to the end of this season, have really stepped up for this club, Newcastle. Ishak found himself on the score sheet, and also Greeley happened to score an own goal for Newcastle in this fixture. And I think this is how the Premier League looks after this match day. Newcastle sit third on the league table with 59 points, and also Nottingham on the 4th position with 57 points. Man City just behind them on the 5th with 55 points, and Chelsea at the 6th position with 54 points, and Aston Villa with 54 points as well. So this is an interesting race for the top 4 in the EPL, and I think it will go down to the last fixture. Andre Onana is in the news again this time, but for the good reason. It is reported that Andre Onana will return to the lineup against Lyon in the Europa League fixture, the second leg. But unfortunately, there is a bad news or an injury news coming from Manchester United, whereby Joshua Zirkzee has injured his hamstring, and then he'll be out for the rest of the season. Now let's go to La Liga. We have a couple of news from La Liga. Kylian Mbappe has been given a 1-match ban for the tackle he had on Blanco during the Alaves game, which is so shameful. But I think this is disgraceful. A lot of people have been talking about this sanction or penalty given to Kylian Mbappe, seeing the impact of that injury. But well, this is La Liga and not football, so they have their own rules and they play with it. Also, a transfer news came in. Griezmann is set to extend his contract with Atletico Madrid for 2 more seasons. Yes, and I think he's going to be with this team for the next 2 seasons to come. So this will end the video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Remember to subscribe to this video, like, share, leave your comment, and see you guys in the next video.